joined the meeting.
Sarah, hi, it's Paul.
Paul, just give me a minute. I'm working on getting the TV up and running.
Sounds good. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure you knew I was here.
Yeah. We can make all kinds of funny faces. All right, I'd like to call to order the February Town Lloyd Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. Hey guys, we're gonna go for the pledge of allegiance, all right? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No smoking, you can turn your cell phone to vibrate.
You can just go off there.
All right, the exits are at the back of the room, clearly marked. Okay. Resume the public hearing for Depew Trevor area variance for Eagle Court, 86.4-3-9.100. Applicant is seeking an area variance to allow 2 flag lots and a subdivision having less than 4 lots. Okay, Patty, you're the representative still for the applicant, correct?
I am.
You want to come up? I don't think we'd asked for too much from the last meeting, for you to provide us anything. We had everything we needed from the previous meeting.
Yeah, I did bring copies of the previous subdivision maps if anybody was interested
You
in
mean the original,
the original
that had the
subdivision.
through road
maps.
going station?
Yeah.
That original? Okay.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, there are 2 previous subdivision maps. The one that was approved in 2006 and filed in 2007 that had all of the through roads.
Mhm.
And I was not involved in the project at that point in time, so I have to be honest, I'm not exactly sure what transpired that made the applicant come back in 2019
Right,
and revise the plan.
right.
Okay, so property was foreclosed on and the bank didn't want to build all the roads for the cost. And perhaps in 2019, obviously from 2017, 12 years, the cost of roadways had increased substantially. So I'm sure there were a multitude of reasons that occurred. It's always been known as the Pleasant View subdivision, and at that point in time, in 2019, there was a substantial lot consolidations that were done. But for the particular property in question, it was still shown as a shared driveway and hammerhead turnaround easement, almost looking like a private roadway type configuration. The proposal,
Not to,
yeah,
at that time, it was to be dedicated to the town road though, right?
no. Originally in 2007, yes.
Okay,
In 2019, it was a private shared driveway.
private
With a
shared driveway between,
50 feet wide with a turnaround at the end, shared between lot number, what became lot number 9 and lot number 29. Because the house for lot number 29 was proposed to be built in the rear. So both of the driveways were going to use the entire shared driveway, and then off of the T turnaround, the 2 houses were going to be constructed. So I can do my back if somebody comes to me anyway. But,
I got it.
You know, the houses were both way in the back. Subsequent to that, the purchaser of lot 29 built his house much closer to Falcon Drive than was originally proposed. He was not interested in sharing the driveway, and wanted to put his own driveway in on Falcon Drive. So we worked with the Ulster County Real Property and the local tax map department. And because they didn't any street numbers along Falcon Drive for what was this roadway. So we petitioned and had it called Eagle Court to get its own, so that Mr. Depew could have his own street number. So again, I understand the reason for restricting the number of flag lots. I actually, at one point in time, was involved in a subdivision that was, luckily, I didn't do it myself, but that somebody circumvented putting in a town road by actually having 4 flag lots with 2 lots in the front. So you had 6 driveways right next to each other. So, you know, that's people abusing a flag lot.
And that's why it was written into.
And that's why it's been written into many codes to restrict the number of flag lots. But the purpose of a flag lot basically is to, such lots may be approved where the planning board finds it will not endanger the public health, safety, and will not increase otherwise allowable density of development but will provide an alternative to the development of new town roads. So in this particular instance, we could construct a town road on that property to do a 2-lot subdivision.
The definition you just read, where was that?
That's section 100-14 flag lots.
Okay.
So again, I understand the reason for restricting the number of flag lots in the subdivision, and there are no other flag lots on Falcon Drive. So although this application before the board is for a 2-lot subdivision, the overall subdivision is obviously multiple lots. So this would be 1 flag lot on an existing shared driveway, so we would not be increasing the density at all. And I think the greatest concerns with regard to this were with regard to impacts on adjoining neighbors, with regard to visual impacts, and buffering. So we had withdrawn the previous application and are appearing back again with an alternative plan where more buffering is provided, a tree line buffer. The applicant is willing to work with the neighbor who is also here, and I hope will speak to the application. And we're interested, the applicant is interested in working with him to provide whatever buffering we possibly can provide. I know one of the things was with regard to the location of the septic system and trying to keep that as far away. I can't speak to that until the engineering is done, which would be part of the subdivision process, but certainly that would be something that is amenable to the landowner, as well as fencing, tree planting. Again, I think that this is a better alternative, because if we were to build a town road, we wouldn't be in front of this board and those mitigations wouldn't be put in place at all.
Right.
So this basically provides an opportunity for a win-win situation for everybody. It saves the landowner money by not having to construct the road to town standards, and it will assist the neighboring landowner by providing guaranteed buffering.
Does the board have any questions for Patty?
I do. Patty, I'd like to know what kind of buffering we're talking about. I mean, I visited the site on Tuesday. I found a lot of mature trees between the existing house that's on the main road where, I'm sorry, Falcon Drive. And this house, if constructed, would be a visual impact, a serious visual impact, even if it's moved 50 feet. Because it's going this way 50 feet, you still got these mature trees, there's no buffer. And I'm just wondering what kind of buffer could be planted that would even get sunshine in this area. Do you have a proposal, some kind of buffer? What are we
Right,
looking at?
so what we were, I'm a little bit confused by what you're saying, because where he's proposing the house is substantially cleared. So you're talking about the deciduous buffer that is already existing, and that will remain.
Right, but it's not much of a buffer. These are mature trees. All you have is trunks. So you're gonna have a clear view
Correct.
of this house.
Yes, and that was one of the points I brought up at the last meeting, was to be able to plant conifers or something in there. It's not going to work. They're not going to grow because of the, and generally speaking, we try to, negotiate with the adjoining landowner what works best. I think in this particular case, fencing is gonna work a lot better than trying to put in trees, because I don't think trees will work.
Correct. I agree.
If we do actually get to that point, I would wanna do a referral to the planning board, because buffering is more in their wheelhouse. And we would refer this to the planning board anyway. And it would be on the applicant to provide alternatives for buffering, be it fencing or vegetative. It would be on the applicant to provide that to the board. What works, what doesn't work.
And usually that's done during the subdivision process, and the zoning board usually stipulates buffering satisfactory to the planning board during the subdivision process.
That's,
So at this point, we haven't developed that because we haven't gotten to that step. But typically, that's how the zoning board words the approvals. If one were to be granted.
But it is relevant to the zoning board's consideration of the environmental impacts of the proposed variance. So, to that extent, I think, if that kind of information can be provided now, it would be helpful for the zoning board. And it may be tweaked more by the planning board, but,
we,
at least there be a baseline.
right, we could have a minimum standard that the zoning or the planning board could expand upon. Does anybody have any more questions for Patty at this time? You're the right to call you back. We're
I'm not
gonna,
going anywhere.
we're actually gonna open it up to members of the public that are,
One question. During this plan with the buffer, in no way you will be moving the other house back closer to the driveway, to their access. I like when you set the house farther back, took it out of his backyard and made it more in.
Yeah, the goal was to put the house in between the two houses that are fronting on Falcon Drive, so that neither the applicant's house or those other two houses, so that they're all impacted as little as possible. One of the provisions of the flag lot code does say that.
During the process of the mediation of the buffer, I don't want the house to go back to where we planned the first time.
Correct, and it says that the planning board may require that the subdivision plat show the limits on the flag lot of the area within which the house and driveway may be constructed. In such cases, the location of the house and driveway within such area shall be assured through a legally binding restriction. So if we restrict on the subdivision map, not just what the typical building setbacks are, but what the building envelope will be for this particular dwelling unit, that will restrict it to be constructed in that area.
right, and Paul, this is a question for you, that would be the planning board, correct?
Yes, I would agree with that. I think that makes sense. You guys can set conditions at this point that, and I think it's entirely appropriate for you guys to be looking at, what the buffering will be in terms of the potential environmental impacts on neighboring properties. But I would leave to the planning board the actual instruments that need to be created to affect that.
Anybody have any other questions for Patty at this time? Anybody question? All right. Well, Patty, you can just slide back. I want to find out if anyone in the audience here has. any-
You gotta open the public hearing first.
I thought it did.
No, it's brand new. It was set for tonight.
Entertain motion. Russ? Paul, all in favor? Aye. Thank you, Garrett.
Mhm.
Any member of the public? Come on up, state your name. You say it again, though.
I left the map there, so you can.
Okay.
refer to that.
How are you? My name's James Rose, I'm the property owner at 14 Falcon.
Which in relation to this project
Is
is
the one that has the camper.
right in front of.
Correct. This is the one that's gonna have the largest impact. I agree with some of the stuff that Patty was saying. She kind of made half of my case already about this. But let's go back to 2022 to start off with, when I presented an argument to you guys and you pretty much all agreed with me. Because this was gonna change the way that the back of my house was lived essentially. The map is here from 2019. This is what I was presented when we knew about the property and the house being built in 19. We didn't sign because it was a builder funded officially until 2020. But in 2020, when we signed, we were shown exactly this, 2 houses. Okay, if this house was built up here, well, that would have stunk, but we were hoping that it wasn't, and it wasn't. He put it all the way back here. Which, yes, I can see that house right now, but that's way off in the distance. This is probably from my house to here it's gotta be 750 feet, so it's very reasonable. When we searched for a house and bought this, I grew up on a farm with 150 acres. I didn't need 150 to live in New York, because I wouldn't have been able to afford it. But the 3 acres plus that I bought was perfect, and my best friend lives right next to it, so I couldn't ask for anything more than that. When we bought the house, this was the only spot that we could get approved too. When he initially bought it was 2 pieces of property. We combined them into 1. And the front was dedicated wetland, so we were not at that time able to build up there, and I wouldn't have wanted to build up there, because I don't know if you're familiar with the property, but literally out my front door, we had to put rocks out the whole front door for the building department to approve it, or a 3-foot like horse fence, because there's actually a drop off, because it's a rock ledge. Like it's impossible for my house to flood where it is, because it's built on top of a rock. I have a slab. Out the back, the same thing. The whole back corner is wetland, and all of this piece is wetland. It's on the DEC map. I looked it up this morning. From my camper all the way over to this house, as of this morning, is all green protected wetland. It's right on their map. So when I was looking at some minutes last week, it said there's no wetland, but there is. This whole thing here, and if you'd like to see it, I brought it, is a wetland, and it's a marsh right now in the wintertime because we've had water. So that's my house, and that's what the wetland looks like from the website this morning on the DEC. So it's a mess back there right now. On top of that, my well is equal with about where my house is at the end. Whatever the length is from, whatever the legal length would be, I don't know. I didn't put my well in.
Board of Health, or what legal length, what do you refer to?
Yeah, whatever Board of Health would say has to be from the property line. My well is roughly, though, equal with this end of the house, about right here. It's pretty close to the back line. I'd say it's no more than 30 to 40 feet off the back of my property. So my well is back here, and this was one of my issues, was that there was a septic there. My other issue is that the board already said this last week, and I said this at the last meeting, that this is mature trees. Right now, this is a wasteland. There's nothing there. It's desolate. I can see this house clear as day with nothing there. I couldn't imagine having a house this close. And this is what my problem is that we wouldn't have bought this piece of property, and I don't even want to necessarily stay in this house if I lose my backyard. Because I didn't buy this house to have somebody sitting in my backyard now. So I did have a conversation with Jordan. He's the proposed house owner, and I thought it was a functional conversation. It only did just occur, so I don't know of anything that they may agree to change. At this point, I'm totally opposed to anything here. It's not even in my wheelhouse. I don't want any of this. This was not even an option to have a subdivision here because of exactly this map. It was a shared driveway that one house and one house. So it's not like they could have put a road in. It's not like there was 50 feet. This 50 feet didn't occur to give them to them until my neighbor decided to give them more property. So this got caused because my neighbor gave them more property, and then they now have the ability to potentially put a town road in. On top of that, the town road and where all those trees are, there is none. It's already cleared. I own all the trees down this road right now. All of this right here, where anything that would have to be cleared for a road, I own. There's no trees right now on that property. I own all of the trees that are here. So if we're talking about that I have to either agree to this or they're gonna put a road in and then out of spite just clear this, that's kind of ridiculous. I mean, it's already being cleared as it is right now. They've been back there for weeks with machines clearing. There's already stuff being put in. So I don't know what the deal is at this point. But it's already being cleared. I mean, there's
Say stop, what is, like,
yeah, machines have been back there for weeks. clearing out trees. There's been guys back there all last week with chainsaws cutting stuff down. I have no idea if it's in the 50 foot. I'm not going over my boundary line to find out, but I can tell you this is all being cleared right now. It's almost gone as it is. If you look at my backyard right now, it's clear as day to see everything here. So there's nothing right now for the 5 months-ish that we don't have thicket, there's nothing there. It's gonna be a wide open view. In the summertime, I have no problem telling you that all of this being cleared in mid-July, yeah, no, I can't see anything because it grows in. But it's growing in from brush and tree limbs, not from the 2 foot pond or the 2 foot oak trees that are there, as one of you mentioned when I read the minutes last week. Yes, it's just mature oak. It's not like across the street over here where it's all those 6-inch saplings and thousands of them. There's none of that here. We don't have that. This is just all tall oaks or maple.
So it was mentioned, possibly a fence buffer or an enhanced vegetative buffer. So you'd be opposed to,
Yeah, at this point in time, I'd be opposed to that because this is too close. There's plenty of option back here. If knowing going into this, that this was gonna be 2 acres, then this house should have been built back here and then this house could have been built where that one is. And I understand what the applicants, what he said in 2022, when I mentioned, well, why can't the other piece go back here? Because there's so much room. And his response was that he doesn't want anybody in his backyard. I kind of get that. Well, that's where I'm at. I don't want anybody in my backyard. So,
when you say didn't want anybody in his backyard, was that at a ZBA meeting?
yes, it was here, the October one that I came and spoke my piece. You asked him that specifically, why can't the house go back here? And it was, he doesn't want anybody in his backyard. I get it. I don't want anybody in my backyard either. And when I bought this, it was 2 houses. This house moved up to the front. I know Travis and Heather very well. And the reason they put their house so close is because they wanted to be part of the community. On a Saturday night, Friday night, Monday night, with all the kids getting older now, all the kids are in this 3, 4, 5 range. We have 15 kids in the cul-de-sac till 8 o'clock on a Friday night. That's why we moved to this street. But I moved to the street also to have 3-point-something acres of privacy with nothing in my backyard, knowing that there should probably never be a house there, at least not close, and there's not. It's 700+ feet away. And right now, we're gonna propose to put one here, right on my property line. So it got moved 50 feet, enough to bring it back in front of you guys, but it's the same ordeal. So unless I saw something creative, I had a very great conversation, I thought, with Jordan, the person that's potentially gonna be buying the house. I have no problem having a continued conversation with it, but I'm opposed to this right now, and I'm opposed to anything else until we see something else on paper that has a viable solution to me not seeing through this, knowing that there should have been nothing there. If a road has to get put in down the road, because that's the only option, and that's what they attempt to do in front of the planning board, then I'll be at the planning board meeting, especially if we just clear this out of spite. That makes 0 sense to me. That we're gonna be spiteful, which is what it seems like in the last meeting, that we'll put the road in, but then we're gonna clear all the trees. Well, let's like, I'm not trying to say that I care about the actual tree itself. I care about the privacy, but that's kind of ridiculous. We're just gonna clear the trees just so we can see each other because we're being spiteful. That's ridiculous. But that was said. That's essentially what was said. Either we'll have a give and take, or we're gonna put a road in and we're just gonna clear the trees anyway, so you have nothing. And it's not a given. It still has to go in front of the planning board, and the planning board's gonna hear the exact same thing I'm hearing if there's no other solution provided. They're gonna hear the same thing, that should never existed. It's a shared driveway, not a road. The road option left in 19, which is the plans I was provided when I bought this house. Or essentially wanted to buy the house. This is what I was told. I asked about all the surrounding area because I saw the 25 acre parcel. What happened with it? Builder's exact answer, 1510, 2 houses. Showed me the 2019 variant.
So your property line to the proposed site,
To the road?
no, to where the house is gonna be.
Yep.
How much of a buffer did you leave between their property line and your house?
From here to here?
Yeah, like from How much, like, what kind of vegetative buffer did you allow in there?
Well, we couldn't leave too much, otherwise we'd have 0 yard back there. We had to build the house here. We only have 10 feet off the front. And then it drops off a rock cliff that's, I don't know, 12 feet tall. So I have my leach field in another spot we had to create before we went into the wetland. This was all wetland. So we had no option here. We created a leach field here that's green, and I left all of these trees. Not one of them is cut down. All of these trees, not one of them is cut down. I have cut down 3 trees back here since. One was a 4 foot with a giant split in it, and the other 2 were over here, which were leaning over the spot where I've been parking my camper. So my camper doesn't get totaled because of, they're an older tree and they were starting. Other than that, I had to clear nothing back there myself. What's been cleared when we bought the house is there now and just grass, obviously. But we had no option. We had to put the house here on top of a slab. And I'm assuming there's a setback here. I don't know what the setback would be. I can imagine it's probably only,
Well, I don't remember.
I bet you it's 100
this
feet.
board, so.
maybe 110 feet. This is probably 110 feet. The back of the camper right now is about 10 feet off the line. And the camper is about 40 feet. So if this is any type of scale, which I don't think it is, it's gotta be roughly close. Then I would say roughly it's probably 100 feet.
Patty, you provided the information, from the back of his house with the proposed, right, with 300 feet?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
That's from his house to
to the proposed house.
Yeah, all the maps in front of you this evening are just, yeah.
So I just, like I said, I'm just gonna reiterate that I was here in 2022 and I gave the exact same reasonings, and I'm here today. I did have a conversation for the first time this week. It was supposed to be last week and I wasn't able to do that. So there's been more conversation than we've had in a year and a half in this past week ever. So it's a starting point. But yes, and I told him straight out that I'm opposed to this right now. But that's just the way it is. As it sits right now, I'm opposed to it. If they want to come back and change things and go from there. I mean, I think we should probably have a conversation before everybody wastes their time again, but that's up to them. I'll be here every meeting if I have to. I don't want to be. I don't want to waste anybody's time, but I built the house. I plan on living in it until I retire from New York. And my child probably leaves high school. So it's not like this is a 2-year plan for me to leave. I'm going to be here for 15 or 20 years. If we decide to move. I don't want to stay in this house though if I end up having a house, somebody behind me. I don't think that's fair.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Does any other member of the public that's in attendance here wish to speak? Does any member of the public that is on Zoom wish to speak? Okay, so Patty, if you could.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just wanted to, address a couple of things with regard to the clearing of the right of way. What was stated is that the town requirements are that the clearing be 50 feet wide. It was never an intention that it would be a spiteful thing. So I just really do want to make that clear for the record. It was not a you do this or else type of a situation. I want to point out to the board that the setbacks in the A zone are a front yard setback of 30 feet, a side yard setback of 35 to 100 for 2 sides, and then a rear yard setback of 30. So the rear yard setback or the buffering that we're providing in this particular instance is 10 times what the requirement is. Nobody is placing a house right in the backyard. Honestly, the more of an eyesore is the owner of this lot looking at a camper. We're willing to work with the applicant. Again, I do believe that, because we keep, I think, going off on a tangent of what perceptions are with regard to visual setbacks and what, what the board's obligation or ability is. Absolutely, this lot showed proposed houses in the location that they did. Neither of those houses needed to be put in that location. This applicant is willing to restrict it.
Right, I mean, exactly, whether the house was put wherever, if there was not a restriction, they can put the house wherever they want, to meet setback.
And the house that was shown on the lot that Mr. Russo constructed on was not constructed in the location that it's shown on this map either. So, you know,
And again, that's, other than if you have a restriction placed, like for a flag lot or whatever. If you're within your setbacks, you can put your house wherever you want, that's a great thing.
So I just wanted to point out that oftentimes, people will try to sell you a lot by saying, look how far away that house is going to be. That doesn't mean that that's where it ends up being built. And sometimes situations occur where people expect one thing and get another because it's legally what is permitted.
That's right. That's right.
And certainly the intent is to continue to work with the applicant. We want. I think that Mr. Russo pointed out the fact that this is a wonderful neighborhood community and everybody enjoys each other. And I would like to be part of everybody continuing to enjoy each other and engage another young family to join into what is a wonderful community.
You're seeking an amicable resolution.
One of the issues was with regard to the septic system. And certainly I can't speak to that until.
Board of Health.
Board of-
Exactly.
Exactly, but that's not something that we're opposed to. That's not.
Right, and that's not something this board, you know, we can't, it's not our rule. So does anyone have any more questions for Patty?
Just one thing, the gentleman mentioned about the wetlands. Do you have anything to that information?
No, I check the map on a regular basis. I will find out what Mr. Ruth has. I also will check the websites again myself tomorrow, but, you know, we had submitted the EAF.
Right, and on the EAF, we discussed that the last time, there was a bit of a gray area, so we definitely want to make sure that we're in line with that. Sarah, I'd like to refer this to the planning board. To get their input, and if the applicant can come up with a few plans for buffering, both fencing, vegetative, no, I don't propose to be a genius on buffering. But we, in the past, with the planning board's input and with their help, we've come up with fairly significant buffering. The applicant didn't do it, but if they did it, it would have been great. So, you know, like I said, I want to get the planning board's input because it's more in their wheelhouse. And again, we'll set a minimum standard. The planning board may up that. But if it is going to be approved as a flag lot from us, there'll be a minimum that we would require.
Understood.
So if you can, you know, a couple of different plans for us to look
Get a
at.
landscaper out there. I mean, that's beyond my, you know,
Right.
we need a professional out there.
Yes, there are professionals that,
Yeah.
that do this, so, and from past experience with Upland,
Yes.
just don't have one and say, yep, this is it, good, fence,
Options.
vegetative. Replace the person.
Yeah.
Paul B, do you have anything that, you'd like to have input on for something you think we may need for the next meeting? Information?
No, I think that really is that's the issue of the day. And I think getting something that would help the board with its evaluation of the environmental impact of granting the variance would be helpful. I mean, I think there's already something in the record because they've, increased distances and that sort of thing. But what I'm hearing from the board is they'd like to see a little bit more, at least to provide a baseline for something where you can evaluate the environmental impact of granting the variance.
Right. I actually, I pulled from the archives the first from November 9th. And a lot of it was exactly what you said, the visual impact, the neighborhood character. It's pretty much lines of what we're discussing now. So.
Right, and I think, you know, one thing that I think is important for everyone to be mindful of is that, you know, the zoning district allows development of this lot. And the only question that's before the zoning board is how people gain access to this lot. So, you know, some of the concerns of neighbors, you know, if there were a different access that the applicant was seeking, you know, that they would basically be faced with the same situation without the need for a variance. So, you know, I think everybody working together is probably the best way to go on this. And that would include the existing property owners who are in front of this property, you know, because this property is developable under the zoning district.
Right.
You know, it's just a matter of how you get there.
Right.
You know, and there's only so far that the ZBA can go in terms of making sure that environmentally, I think, you know, the only issue really that I see is the visual. And, you know, if a buffer is provided, you know, that's really, you know, that's part of the standards you're looking at. And the ZBA may find that that's sufficient, you know, subject to further review by the planning board.
Right. This is more of a hypothetical, but if this was granted, right, the entire lot now is 10.5 acres, give or take?
Yes, 10.05, so 10 acres.
10 acres, so could it be restricted, because, you know, we're talking about the environmental impacts and whatever. Could it be restricted that further development would be restricted?
Well,
So
that's
to say-
that's automatically part of the flag lot regulations is that you need to put a restriction on the map that flag lots. An approved plat containing flag lots shall contain a note stating that no further subdivision of the flag lots shall be permitted.
Okay.
But
question.
see, here's where I'm playing devil's advocate. So you would need a variance to put in 2 flag lots. If you converted those flag lots and built a road, you would take away the flag lot. So
Correct.
you would make it more compliant.
Yep.
So in the future, you could take the flag lots away, build a road,
Put another house in.
and put 3 more houses in there.
Well,
Right.
So
yes.
Can we put a stipulation? Because I understand there would be 2 flag lots, but you would be more compliant to take away 2 flag lots and build a road. And then build 2 more houses in the back, or 3 more, or whatever you deal
Which
with.
potentially could happen 30 years from now.
Right, it could, but I wanna know if we can restrict that.
I think that's beyond the scope of the ZBA's review. If the applicant were to propose something like that, that would be different, but I don't think it's something that you would want to, I'm not sure what the basis would be for the ZBA to impose that. at
Put a
this point.
restriction. Okay.
Yeah.
Food for thought.
No, it's an idea, and it's something that the applicant could consider in terms of the overall neighborhood character if they wanted to.
Yeah, but that would be if they did that, that would be out of everything.
Yeah,
The property, and I'm gonna get up and just kind of answer. You own this now, right?
Yeah,
Do you own this now, or is this
No.
contingent on this?
that's all contingent, because that won't happen, that would be part of the subdivision
I
process.
thought it was, but I read, I confused myself by reading past notes that I wanted to clarify.
At this point in time, Clem, owns that, the Clem, that's on Clem's property.
Right.
Part of the, if this process goes through, that would be contingent.
Contingent on
Yeah.
the approval, okay. Okay, does anybody have any more questions, comments, concerns? Does anybody from the public wish to come back up? We're gonna leave the, obviously, we're gonna leave the public hearing open.
One question. Going to the house towards the back. That's the side yard setback, right? Off the line to the left of it? I'm thinking. Make it more, I'm trying to make everybody happy and it doesn't work always, but. This is the side yard setback. Isn't that a minimum of 15 to 35? Or
The
35?
side yard setback is 35.
Okay, so if you took this house and pushed it all the way to 35 off of here. I don't know how much we'll gain.
About 15 feet, and visually, you're not gonna see 15.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Okay. And again, what we're looking for is to come up with an acceptable building envelope. Because I can't say that the house is gonna go exactly in that spot until the engineering design is done.
Okay,
Certainly, one of the things that we're gonna be consulting and talking about with the neighbor is, if he doesn't want the septic on that side, then the septic would need to go in the rear, but we can't put the septic in the 100-foot wide buffer that's on the rear of the property. So then that means the house would have to be pushed slightly to the north, you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah, I do.
So basically, if we move this septic, the only place to move it would be, we can't put it in here. So we have to move to here, which pushes this house up so the well can get pushed up. So it's.
Yeah.
The devil if you do, the devil if you don't.
okay, we just keep tossing this thing.
I think. The visual is the major hangup right now, right? So if we can come up with a feasible buffer. And I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think. We can make everybody happy.
The contours there doesn't, that piece of property is just flat.
It's flat.
They did. Before you find
Okay. Gotcha, thank you.
Okay, I think I got my marching order,
one.
and so will this be on the agenda
Yes,
this month? Okay.
yes, I'll get it on tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you very much.
We're not closing public.
No.
By the way, we've referred this to the county. Is that right, Sarah?
That is correct.
Yeah. So we're still waiting for county comments on the proposed variance.
Minutes to approve for January 11th.
Make a motion on that.
If that's a written. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. We can entertain a motion to adjourn. Second,
Yes.
all in favor? Aye. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Jesus, look. Sharing here.
Got